Hello.
everyone. Wait a minute, I'll just start my video. This is all a little bit chaotic because my MacBook decided to not work anymore with Zoom. So I switched over my iPad, and as you can see, I have a new guest. Declan, a friend of Keelan, jumped in because Keelan is on his way to Boston right now. I wish him the best of fun on his vacation. And yeah, I was busy a little bit over the last couple of days. That's why we record the Silverstone review now, but better late than never. So first of all, thank you and welcome, Declan, for joining me.
Hello.
Do you enjoy the races in Silverstone?
Yeah, they were absolutely mental. Thoroughly enjoyed all the races. I was hiding behind my sofa a little bit on the Moto3 one. I couldn't watch it. It was just horrendous. Like every corner, just chaos, and then another corner, chaos. And you had obviously the rookies coming in. You had Munoz, and yeah, it's just carnage. And obviously MotoGP was amazing when the Leishes come back, and yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. All three races were good. I would like to start with the MotoGP race, and the big question is Pecco back in the championship race?
Well, he's gone from a 91-point deficit down to 49 points in, I think, 2-3 races. It's gone from a insurmountable challenge, something that 100 points, you can't make that back. It's very difficult anyway. Obviously, riders like Oliveira have done it back in 2015 and nearly won the title. To 49 points, that's very much on. I think Pecco is very much now in the title fight. And if he can keep up this consistency and not crash, because he's already, I think, got 4 DNFs to his name this year. I did the maths the other day, and if you take the points or the positions of where he was, so when he crashed out, say first, second, third, add them all on and add them to his championship points, he'd be leading championship comfortably now.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly did a good job over the last 2 races, and Fabio didn't. I mean, he fucked it up in Assen, and he made the wrong tire choice, I believe, in Silverstone, and also had this long lap, which to me was unnecessary. But this chapter is behind us now, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like Fabio had just 2 bad races, but over the whole season, he's been so consistent, always getting the maximum out of that Yamaha, that I don't feel like he is declining. I feel like he had a bad run and he will be back. Maybe like Spielberg last year wasn't that bad for him. Maybe he can do something there and get back on track. And he has this luxury where he can manage his lead more than Pecco can, because Pecco has to be absolutely perfect. And yes, it's possible, but I would still say that Fabio is like the big favorite, and Pecco isn't back in the championship race just yet. I mean, there's still hope, yeah, but Fabio needs to fuck it up for Pecco to be in real title contention again. So I would say no. I mean, it's a fun story, but Fabio is just too good. He's too consistent. He is always getting the maximum out of this bike and knows when to take like an 8th place. Still very aggressive, but always like the way it should be. So yeah, I don't see Pecco back in the championship race just yet.
Yeah, it depends on, I think, the results to come. Obviously, Spielberg is always a Ducati haven. It's where Ducati always do really well. If Pecco can have a good race there and maybe win another race, then and Fabio maybe is off the podium, you could see a massive swing way down into the mid-30s points wise. But Pecco needs to be consistent. That's where he struggles. Pecco could win every single race for the rest of the season, but if Fabio finishes second in all of those, Fabio is still the champion over Pecco. Obviously, taking Aleix out of the equation for a minute, Fabio really, it's down to Fabio now. He's got such a big lead over Pecco, at least. Obviously, there's still 22 or 4 points over Aleix, who I think is a stronger contender of Pecco.
Yeah, which brings us to the next big thing, his injury. Is his injury like standing in the way of him competing for the championship? Or is it just like, okay, I will be fit after Silverstone again? Only Aleix knows. I wouldn't necessarily count him out, but yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw from Silverstone, Alesia's hard as nails. Yes, he dropped some positions and things like that, and he couldn't really fight as hard as he wanted to, but he still had the balls to send it under Fabio Quartararo on the final lap, and he still was able to fight. And he's been told this week, 7 days, he can't do anything, no physical activity. So I think it will hinder him a little bit, but his fitness is there. He's still strong, and Jorge Lorenzo got on the podium back with 2 broken ankles. If Jorge Lorenzo could do it, yes, obviously Lorenzo's a super talent, but Alesia's on another level this year. I think if it's possible, Alessia will give 200% and give his all for it, as we saw, because this could be the only chance in his career to win a championship. He really has to put it all on the line. Like last year when you saw Raul Fernandez with the broken hand, and he still was winning races at Aragon. He was still battling and won multiple races because his hand, over 6 weeks it took to heal. And in that time, he won races, multiple races, and he was in a lot of pain. I think when you're in that mentality of, this could be the only chance I've got, you just have to do everything you can. And unfortunately, an injury is tough and it's difficult and it will hinder you. There's no doubt about it. But in these situations, you just have to kind of put that behind you and get drugged up on as many painkillers as you can and just send it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like not that bad when you initially injure yourself, but when you have like 2 weeks where you can't train, you have your physical condition. I mean, the injury heals up, but your overall fitness declines a little bit. Then it gets tougher, which could be a difficult stretch for him. And also regarding Pecco, there are a lot of tracks coming up which suit him. I mean, Austria is like a Ducati track. Even with the new chicane, it should be the same because the Ducati has good braking stability, good acceleration, and it's not like a Assen type. And even in Assen, Pecco won. So the Ducati can't be stopped now.
The Ducati's the best bike, isn't it?
So. Yeah, and Aragon and Misano.
Misano's his fortress. He knows that. Like, he led it in 2019 or 2020. He led the race in 2020 on the Pramac. And then I think he won the race last year. Like,
no,
he's gonna win.
He
crashed in 2020 still.
Yeah, he crashed on the Pramac, but he won there. Was
last year?
I get confused with the 2 races.
There was 2.
I believe he won the first one.
Yeah.
Where he had a close battle with Fabio and
then he crashed.
Yeah.
Out of the lead.
Yeah.
So he's been there in the last 3 or 4. I'll get it here quickly. So obviously he crashed out of a lead last time, but then he won it the time previously. And then he crashed out of a lead back in 2020 on it. And then in 2019, he registered another DNF. But as we know, his last 3 races he's been there, he's led the race. Obviously, he's crashed out 2 of them, but
didn't he finish second in the first Misano race in 2020?
I believe yes, he did. He got a podium. Yeah, I forgot.
Frankie won this race. Pecco finished second, and then they came back to Misano and he binded in the lead. Yeah, it's weird with the double headers, but yeah we horrible. Got and there are a good couple of tracks for Pecco, but the same with Aleix. I feel like the overseas races are a bit of a wild card because everything can happen there. We haven't been there in 2 years, and it should be really interesting, and it could be like the deciding factor because when you go into those overseas races, I believe they're racing every one of them, right?
Yeah,
Australia, Thailand,
Japan,
and no, Indonesia. They already had Indonesia. It's just those 4 races. I mean, if you have like a good run there or a bad run, whatever, it could really, really impact your championship. And I'm excited for the overseas races.
Yeah, I mean, Fabio is going to be trying to head into those races with as much, obviously, gap as he can. because the more times 25 he's got, for example, obviously if he's got 25-point lead going into the second to last race, he can wrap it up early, and obviously he's going to be trying to get as big an advantage as he can over Pecco, over etc. Because then obviously if he's got over 50 points over Pecco, then it takes Pecco out of the contention a bit earlier, but anything can happen. You've seen in the past riders crash. Like I think Alex Marquez, yes, he won the championship back in it's a Moto2 championship, 2019, was it?
2019, yes.
Yeah, he won the 2019 championship at Sepang with 30 points in the bag, but then he crashed out of the last race and Binder won it. Meaning the end of the season, they finished with 5-point gap. Meaning that, you kind of, yes, you might be able to relax a little bit with these gaps, but still, you still got to keep pushing.
Yeah, you can't make mistakes. And what's interesting to me with Maverick now at the front, Pecco has like a teammate who can fight at the front. And he also has like multiple teammates because the Pramac boys won't necessarily help Fabio. But yeah, and with Maverick now in play, which role will he take in the championship battle? It could be that he takes valuable points away from Fabio, or he helps Elation a certain way, and Fabio is like a bit on his own.
Sorry, there's a spider. I was getting rid of it. I think it's gone. Yeah, so sorry. There we go. Yeah, so I think Vinales, now that he's in play, will take points out of Fabio. His job will be to take as many points out of Fabio as physically possible. Fabio is not in a title. No, Vinales is not in a title fight, but he doesn't like Yamaha, as we know. He's going to be doing all he can for a personal vendetta against Yamaha to take points out of Yamaha. And then obviously he's going to try and help his teammate out as well. And if Vinales is on an absolute roll at the moment, and this form, I think, will only continue. And as we head into the tracks like Austria and Misano, where he himself has had good success at previously, especially Misano, obviously, where he won that in 2020. It's a case of Vinales. He knows he's good at these tracks. He knows he's fast at these tracks, and therefore he's comfortable on it. He's on the V4 engine as well, which is much more powerful than the inline four that the Yamaha's running. And Vinales is just going to be, he's going to be on it, but I think he will definitely allow Aleix through if he needs to for the championship. I think them two will work together this year to allow Aleix to win the championship. I think he owes Aprilia that, I think, because without Aprilia, he wouldn't have a seat now. And obviously, like I said, that vendetta against Yamaha is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's like the big question, are we getting like peak Maverick the way he should perform, because he's one of the most talented riders on the grid, and he should be competing for podiums every race, for championships, in a matter of fact, because he's that good, but he somehow found always a way to fuck it up and be good, like in 2 races in the season, and then be nowhere to be found in the other ones. Is it just like a normal case of this is Maverick's high and it will go down again, or will he be like consistent at the top? Would be nice to know if it's like a Yamaha problem or if it's a Maverick problem. Now we can find out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Vinales is a very special cookie. So he only performs well when the bike is perfect. When everything is like, when the stars have aligned, which is why you see, 2 good performances out of him and then he disappears for a bit. I think with Yamaha, ever since it switched from Bridgestone to Michelin, all the Yamaha riders struggled. Valentino Rossi struggled epically with it. He really didn't like it. He constantly was always going on about the rear grip and all that on his rear tire. And then Vinales had grip issues as well and was complaining about the grip of the rear tire and things like that. And it was a consistent issue with the Yamaha. But then Vinales, when he found a good day, he could win a race. But now he's on the best bike on the grid, and everything seems to fall in place with him consistently now. And he's had a good few run of races now where he's battled at the front. He's confident, but his mentality is different. Like last year, you looked at him and he had a face of thunder. You didn't want to go near him because he looked angry, and like you could see the fake smiles he put it on, and like you'd see in his eyes that he'd have a smile on his face, but you could see in his eyes that he wasn't happy. Whereas now, when you look at him, he's so happy. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He's got it in his eye. Like, when he gives you a smile, it's a genuine smile. And I think that from Vinales, I think he's quite fragile mentally. And so that has hindered him in Yamaha a lot when they're expecting him to win races. But now there's no expectations. And he's kind of a number 2 in the team at the moment. And I think that suits him quite well. It suited him when he was a number 2 behind Valentino. And I think now this is going to be the Vinales we've been wanting to see since he joined the class on the Yamaha, joined the Yamaha in 2017. That's what I think anyway.
I hope so. I'll be very happy for him because I like the guy. And I would like to switch gears to another special topic, which is Joan Mir, who is not performing well at the moment, and he's linked to Honda, and they are not performing well at the moment, like nobody at Honda. So what's the deal with Mir and Honda? Would you sign Joan Mir if you're Honda?
Well, luckily for Honda and Mir, he's on a bit of a crash fest at the moment. Honda are very used to their riders crashing every 2 minutes. So he's going to be right at home at Honda next year if they sign him. Regarding Mir, crashes aside, obviously he's a 2020 MotoGP world champion. And he's one of the most naturally gifted riders we've seen in a long time. When he hopped into Moto3 and won a race as a rookie on the KTM, and then won 10 races the year following on the Honda, and then stepped into Moto2 and was up there, and then stepped straight into MotoGP. And then he's always been quite good. And then he won the title and then backed up with 3rd place, but he can't win races. And I just can't see it going well from a Honda because the bike's a piece of shit. And without Marquez, they're fucked.
Yeah, my big theory is that Honda will sign Pedro for 2024. And it's like a weird spot because Mir is a good rider, maybe better than Paul, but Paul knows the bike, Paul knows the team. And do you value a rider who comes from a different team, who knows nothing about your bike, who's maybe better, over someone who has 2 years of experience and knows how to develop a bike? And Honda's been saying the bike has potential. It just needs that extra step. Maybe it's the smart way to keep Paul, because you can't have a team structure where you have Alex Rins as a new guy, then potentially Ayogura, which I think is the smart move because Taka Nakagami isn't cutting it. Then you would potentially bring Joan Mir on the bike and Marc Marquez back, who has next to no experience on a new bike. He has like 4 or 5 races. Yeah. In 2020, he was injured. In 2021, it was still like the old Honda, but he was injured half of the time there too. He hasn't put in the testing work. So you're basically with 4 new riders, like 3.5, whatever you want to count Marquez. And this is like a bad situation for Honda. Therefore, I personally would keep Paul, even if I think Mir is the better rider, but Paul would do a better job developing the bike, especially when you consider that you maybe want to bring Pedro in to replace like Marc Marquez over a longer period of time as your top rider. Because yeah, Marquez, same old story. Who knows if he will be healthy again,
Yeah, that's it. I mean, with Honda, obviously Pol Espargaro is going to Tech 3 KTM. That will be announced at Austria. So Honda have already lost Pol. He's going to Tech 3 KTM. Pol even confirmed it over the weekend. He signed a 2-year deal. But that's the thing. You say obviously it might be negative, but I think having both Suzuki riders in their roster and being able to develop their bike could be a good thing. Suzuki back in 2020 was by far the best bike on the grid. And last year it was still a very good bike. You know, Rins can still win races on it. He was winning races on it in 2019, and Mir was and is still an exceptionally good rider. So I think having their input could try and change it for the better. And then you've got Ayagura, who's a rookie if he signs for them. And having a rookie on the bike again could be good because they offer you a fresh perspective. They haven't got anything to base it off, so it's all brand new. But then you've got Stefan Bradl waiting in the wings, who I'm hoping is doing a good job as a test rider and helping develop the bike in a good way. And then obviously you've got Marquez, who tends to make the bike a very front end heavy, which is why he was the only one that could ride in 2019. And then now that they've changed it to be a lot more less front end heavy and better suited, Marquez struggled on it this year. Obviously his arm is a major factor, but because they've changed the way the bike is and its characteristics of the bike, Mark can't ride it the way he likes to. And then suddenly Honda have lost their star man and they made a bike that's still unrideable.
Yeah, I still believe they will put Taka Nakagami into the test rider role because I don't see any reason to keep Stefan Bradl. I don't like his body of work. I don't feel like he is the right man for the job because Honda is stuck with the shitbox for years now, and Marquez has been pulling a rabbit out of his hole, his head, not his hole.
His hole? Gee, okay.
Yeah, and he's not healthy anymore. He will never be in 2019 Mark again. He maybe will be winning races again, maybe even competing for a championship, but not that Marc Marquez that we saw, which was unbeatable. But yeah, so I don't think Stefan Bradl is the right man for the job, and I hope they will take Taka.
Nakagami did confirm on the stage at Silverstone that he has signed with Honda as a test rider. But that test rider role could include a 2023 seat if Ayagura doesn't sign with Honda. So there is that, and then it'll help with their World Super. I think he'll get a World Superbike ride as well, probably in some wildcards in MotoGP. Much like Kota Nazani in World Superbike, where he tests the Yamaha M1, but is a full-time Superbike rider.
Yeah, I mean, what's up with Ayagura, I don't necessarily know, because like you could do both ways. You could go, okay, MotoGP is the right step, he's at the front, but you could look at his Moto2 races like it's like that little bit extra which Augusto Fernandez is able to do, or like Remy Gardner and Raul Fernandez last year were able to do. This is missing, you know? So you could argue both ways, but
yeah,
I as Ayagura and I as Honda would go with the MotoGP move. But yeah, so you basically confirmed the Paul Espargaro, Remy Gardner, Tech 3.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely Paul. I believe it'll be Remy. I mean, I can't see Raul staying. There's no way in hell. So it'll be Remy. I'm sure of it. But then, yeah, Paul will be Paul.
Yeah, I mean, the RNF Aprilia is like a bit of a wild card. Basically, everybody could go there, but it seems like it will be Miguel and it will be Raul Fernandez. And if you're KTM, you would take Remy every day of the week because he is just outperforming his teammate big time. I believe there was just 2 races where Raul was able to finish in front of him.
There's not many at all. Not many at all this year.
Maybe a little bit prematurely for them to move him up, but
he shouldn't have gone up. It's KTM making stupid decisions.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his season last year, you understand where they're coming from, but it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for him to stay in Moto2. But yeah, then we wouldn't have Augusto Fernandez in Moto2 because ain't no way they're not letting Pedro into that team. So, and he's doing miracles right now. Is he your favorite for the title now?
I think so. The thing is with Augusto, as we've shown before, he's massively inconsistent. And, you know, back in 2019, when he looked like he was going to take the title and then just disappeared again. But thankfully, because he races for IO Io breeds champions. Io, that's what he does. He makes riders into world champions. And if there's anyone who could fix Fernandez and turn him into a world champion, it is Io. And it looks like we've got a 2019 Augusto Fernandez back again. And he's, as long as he continues this form, Austria, he's really good at. He was on the podium there last year. As long as he keeps his form, then yeah, he's absolutely my favorite for the title.
Yeah, and I mean, if you consider Remy's body of work before he joined IO, I would argue that Augusto Fernandez's body of work pre-IO is more impressive than Remy's. And we all know what Remy did. And it seems like when you have this maturity on the Moto2 bike, which Raul is missing, or was missing, which Pedro is missing, and kind of Aaron Canet and Celestino Vietti are missing a little bit. If you have this maturity, you get into a state where you're everywhere you're good, because everybody has the same bike, it's the same conditions for everybody. So it's really the best riders, and it shows over the last seasons that you need some experience, and if you can put these things together, it usually goes on well for you. So I think Augusto is the big favorite, because it seemed like Vietti at the beginning, but he isn't cutting it anymore. Whatever's going on with him, I don't know. Maybe you can explain it to me.
It's just inconsistent. It's just it's like he doesn't want the title, and he's just kind of like, you know what, Fernandez, you can have it. It's not bothered by it. He's crashing, he's doing stupid things to get long lap penalties at Silverstone. He's just kind of throwing away his own title, And Canet did the same. Every time Vietti crashed out, Canet would crash out as well. And then vice versa. If Canet crashed out, Vietti was like, all right, sick, I'll just crash as well. Like, whatever. And it just seems like the pair of them don't really want the title. Augusto does want the title, and so he's putting in the work. And the fact that he could close in on Lopez like he did at Silverstone to then take the win. Lopez's defending all that was absolutely exceptional, and Fernandez still found a way through because he wants it, and it doesn't seem like Vietti wants it that much.
Yeah, I mean, what Fernandez did to Alonso Lopez kind of broke my heart, because I wanted Alonso Lopez to win so bad, because I feel like he was done very dirty by the MotoGP gods. Forget all the Moto3 bullshit with the funding, shit happens in motorsport, but like his season last year in the Spanish Championship with Fermin Aldeguer, they were so fucking good, and Fermin got the seat, and he got to race another year. So whatever was up there, they made like the wrong decision to not put him in on the bike in the beginning, but eventually they did the right thing and put him on the speeder, because he absolutely deserved it. Even if I still think they did Romano Fenati dirty, but I mean, it is what it is now. And Alonso Lopez is proving every day that he belongs on this bike. And yeah, he's redeeming himself. So any updates, can you explain to me what the fuck happened that he didn't get the seat and Fenati got the seat?
So I'm not sure explicitly with the Boscoscuro team as to why, or the speed up team, as to why they didn't hire him, because it just seemed like a no-brainer to hire Lopez and Fermin, like, the two best riders. They're on your chassis in obviously the FIM Chev, and they're 1-2 in every race. Obviously, there was one race where Lopez finished third because Fermin punted him off the track, but it would have been a 1-2. And for them to not sign him is stupid, but it'll be because of money. Lopez, most of last season, because I speak to Lopez's manager quite a lot, I know him, and he was, trying. They were trying the Bonds team, they're trying this team and all this team, but they're all asking for money. It was just money. Have you got this much money? Have you got this much money? And Lopez, obviously, he lost the Moto3 seat because he didn't have the money. And so for him to then have the money for a Moto2 seat, it's not happening, And then it came down to the last one. There was only one team left that could have hired him, but he was up against another rider who I can't say on the podcast, but I can tell you in private. He was up against another rider And unfortunately, Lopez's Spanish passport let him down, and the other rider, whose passport was different and more favorable, got in the seat. And that's why Lopez then got left out. And then he then obviously was allowed to race in. He had to basically race in the FIM CEV this year, which is an absolute travesty, as we've seen, because look how good he is this year. He's absolutely outstanding. But unfortunately, as we know, the racing gods have hated on him in all his career, and he seems to just bounce back from it. It doesn't let him get him down. And now finally he's kind of doing what we hoped he'd be doing for a long time, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was campaigning a long time ago that he needs to get the Moto 2 seat, and finally did. And I mean, it was dirty what they did to Romano Fenati, but I mean, if you had to pick one rider who deserves this, it would be Romano Fenati, because he had his shot. He behaved like a dickhead on multiple occasions, so it is what it is. And he wasn't producing the results. So, I mean, yeah. But yeah, lastly, I would like to talk to you about Jake Dixon. Recently, my favorite topic to talk about, because he likes to crash out in the lead. And
Yeah,
that's kind of funny to me. But he was a motherfucker in Silverstone. It seems like when you have like removed the pressure of like winning a race or contending for a title, which kind of annoys me that the commentators always hype him up as the main title contender, whatever, or main victory contender. Even if like 3 seconds behind Augusto Fernandez, they're still, don't count out Jake Dixon. But yeah, long story short, he impressed me a lot in the battle with Ogura and Canet. And yeah, how do you see his future? I mean, his passport should favor him if maybe Gasgas moves into MotoGP.
Yeah. Yeah, I think his passport will definitely help him, especially with the fact that Silverstone had 41,000 spectators, which is horrendous, especially when on the race day they had.
Here's the reason for the 41,000.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, they only had 41,000. Last year they had 67,000. Formula One gets 140,000 at Silverstone. Obviously cars always outperform bikes because everyone drives a car, kind of thing. But you know, not having a British rider will be one of the factors. Obviously, Valentino Rossi not being there will be a factor as well. But not having a British rider there will be a major factor, and Dorna will have pressure from BT Sport and every British sponsors to have a British rider there, which will help Jake in the future. Whether Gasgas will step up into MotoGP remains to be seen. I haven't heard anything about these Suzuki spots since there's a rumor about BMW and then there's a Gasgas thing, but it's gone very, very quiet since then. So I don't know.
Looking at the clock, we are running a little bit short on time. That's because I would like to talk about Moto3 for a second, because Dennis Foggia won the lottery in Silverstone. I mean, if you gave him like what's this ghost called from Aladdin? You know what I mean? Where you have like 3 wishes.
Oh yeah, the magic genie bottle thing.
Yeah, you know, genie in the bottle. And this would have been one of his wishes, like give me a 25-point cut down to the lead over those gas boys. And they were so unlucky. But yeah, is Dennis Foggia back in the championship race?
Dennis Foggia's a weird one because again, he's just not that consistent. Like he's had a few podiums this year, of course, and he's also struggled with the Honda not performing, and these Gas boys have just been consistent for every race. He's a bit hot-headed. He's a bit. I think Foggia will be in the title fight, but he needs to really now put in a run together, like he did last year when he closed down Pedro Acosta in the championship standings. He's got 8 races now to put in a spectacular run and close that championship lead down now. But he has to be on it every race and be winning races now, because he's got 2 race wins this year. But with Garcia and Guevara having 3 apiece, you know, he needs to do a bit more now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I trust Dennis Foggia more than I trust Pecco Bagnaia because Moto3 is just such a wild card every weekend. Everything can happen, and like Murphy's Law, Moto3 law, everything that can happen will happen. So I think he has a better shot of winning the title, especially knowing how last season went because he was on it. But the Gasgas boys, they seem like a different breed this year because here Guevara, he is like things that don't happen in Moto3. He sets the pace and he's gone. Yeah. And he didn't manage to do it in Assen. He didn't manage to do it in Silverstone. And I feel like he's getting lost a little bit in the battle, but he certainly has the pace. And Sergio Garcia somehow always pulls a rabbit out of his head.
Yeah, he does.
And yeah, manages to finish in the top 5 though, so they are more consistent and not like Moto3 typical riders where they finish on the podium one race and then like outside the top 15 another one. So yeah, I still believe Izan Guevara will win the championship, but I wouldn't be surprised if Foggia won it or if Garcia won it.
Yeah, it's there's still 8 races to go, and it's Moto3. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, so is this your best race of the season so far?
Silverstone, definitely. Yeah, all 3 classes, definitely.
Yeah,
100%. So, I mean, so good.
Moto2 was really good in Barcelona. This was a very good race, but yeah, Silverstone is up there in Moto2 and MotoGP and Moto3 most definitely. But yeah, so I will actually be in Austria in person. I'm gonna watch the race, so I'm very excited for the experience, like some good comparisons to Assen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your time, even though it's very late in the evening and a bit spontaneously. But
it's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you very much. And I don't know how I will do it in Austria. Maybe I've sent something up my sleeve, but yeah, we will see. Thank you everybody for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.